Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Butch Shark, Options University, Monday, April 23rd, 2012. Access to this video is for educational and informational purposes only. Nothing contained in this video, website, or promotional material constitutes a promotion, recommendation, solicitation, or offer of any particular investment, security, or transaction. Options University provides educational services that are meant to teach you the risks and rewards of trading stocks and options, and we are not a service that tells you what to trade. We're not implying or guaranteeing any profit. As always, do not trade with money that you cannot afford to lose. This is a week that's filled with economic announcements as we look at our economic calendar for the week to come. It is an economic calendar that is filled with housing information and housing numbers that will be coming at us every single day this week except for Monday, where we have basically very little, nothing basically that we're interested in is Monday as far as economic announcements. Big one on Tuesday, FOMC meeting begins. And so on Tuesday we'll see the beginning of that meeting, and on Wednesday we'll see the actual announcement at 12:30. We also have consumer confidence on Tuesday, which certainly has been known to move the market. Richmond Federal Manufacturing, it is also on Tuesday. Durable goods orders is on Wednesday morning. That also can move the market. And then on every single Thursday, we have jobless claims, which will be there this week, just like every other week. Has been a bit disappointing for the last 3 or 4 jobless claims announcements. Pending home sales indexes, more from the home front. And then we see on Friday, we break off into a little bit different area where we get GDP, employment cost index, and consumer sentiment. Add to these economic announcements, we got an election taking place in France, which could affect the market. We also have 1/3 of all the S&P big boys going to have earnings this week as we enter the second big week of earnings announcements. We see that Chevron, we see that Exxon, we see that Apple certainly could have an effect on the overall market as it comes out with earnings on the 24th, which is Tuesday. So big numbers coming out this week, big announcements, and lots of economic information coming our way as we look at the week that was. Looking at the week that was, we see that basically as we look at the SPX, what we had last week was a consolidation, which basically ended the week about where it started as we went sideways for the week with the SPX. So not much of a move for those of you that are sellers in the market in your selling time. It worked out very well for you. It was interesting, though, as we look at the week, we're in a very tight trading range where we got from 1390 to 1370. In instances, it covered that entire distance in one day. Look at the size of those candlesticks, and we see that it would go up and down and up and down and up and down as we spent our week in this very, very tight range after we pulled back on that big pullback on Tuesday of the week before last. So we're in a down cycle currently where we're getting higher lows and higher highs. Friday we ended up with an inside day, and we ended up with a bit of a sell-off towards the end of the day as the SPX ended up at 1378.53, and plenty of economic news coming out in the coming week. The Dow did exactly the same thing, consolidating for the week, ending the week basically where it started, and not much movement out of the Dow as we saw the week take place. NASDAQ, the weaker of all the indexes, also consolidated with its 5 days of trading. Basically ended up closing above that magic 3,000 number as the NASDAQ is holding its own, the big gainer for the year of all the indexes. Russell 2000, we see that it, after the big pullback, has been doing exactly the same thing, consolidating and moving sideways during the last 5 days. Almost ended up at about the same spot that it started at. Get down to some particular numbers. We see the Dow brought a change of almost 200 points, up 1.4% for the week, with a year-to-date of 6.6%. Then we see the NASDAQ, the only one that ended up in any negative numbers, minus 10 points on the NASDAQ, but minus 0.4% change for the week. And year-to-date, the leader is up 15.2%. S&P 500, 8.27%, 8.27 points up for the week, up 0.6% for the week, and up 9.6% for year-to-date. And Russell 2000, The change is 7.76 points, up 1% for the week. Actually had a good week, and year to date it's up 8.5% as it regained some of the ground it had dropped. If we look at the NASDAQ, the big difficult thing there was the NASDAQ was down as Apple has been pulling back going into earnings next week, which they're having earnings on the 24th. All right, looking at the VIX, we see the VIX is spending its time between 15 and 20, where it spends approximately 50%, around 85% of its time. And so no great fear in the market as it continues in the same trading range where the VIX actually spends most of its time. The bonds are up in that high trading range again, spent very little time below that trading range that it had earlier in the year. And so TLT, which is the ETF for bonds, showing consolidation, trading near the high of the year. If we look at the financials, we see the financials pulled back on Friday, consolidated with the rest of the market, fully what we would expect out of the ETF, which is that for the financials. We see that oil, represented by the ETF USO, was up a little bit on Friday, basically consolidated during the week, and the entire market basically went no place last week. We see gold was down. Gold was down, not near its lows, but gold headed down for the week and closed very near the low of the week. If we look at the spider, where we can see some indications here, on Friday we had a kind of a sell-off towards the end of the day, and we see that we had a big volume day on Friday where the rest of the week the volume was kind of average. So big sell-off on Friday, later in the day as the market sold off going into the weekend, down 89 cents for the day. For those of you that are gold members, we're going to look at stocks to watch. For those of you that are not gold members, if you'd like to see more free videos from Options University, there will be a www site given to you at the end of this video, and you'll find other spots where you can go for more videos. For our gold members, hang on, and we will continue on with these stocks to watch. So this is Butch Shorrock, Options University, Monday, April 23rd, 2012. To our gold members, welcome back. Let's take a look at our stocks to watch for the week. First thing we're going to look at is the SPX. Notice that we've been trading in this 20-point range, and we're only going to consolidate in this range for so long. This could be the week that we break out, particularly with Apple giving us our announcement of its earnings. So pay attention on Tuesday, as Apple could definitely move this market up or down based upon these earnings announcements. So a certain amount of risk in the market till we find out what Apple comes out with, as Apple has basically led the market up during the last year and certainly during the last quarter. We've got support at 1370. We've been trading in this 20-point range. Yeah, we'll see which way we're going to break out of this as we see what Apple does. The FOMC announcement probably will not affect the market all that much, as they're very careful what they've been saying in recent times. Apple, we see that Apple, for the first time since the last quarter when they had announcements, is spending time below its 10-day moving average. We've been down there for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, as there were rumors of Apple having trouble meeting second quarter earnings. So we'll see what happens, and what we hear from the earnings announcement could have an effect on Apple and on the overall market in general. Google announced a stock split. Normally one would expect that we should have a movement up after an announcement of a stock split and stellar earnings, but obviously somebody wasn't too impressed with this thing, as we've seen Google pull back after its earnings announcement. Not exactly what one would expect, but it was kind of a funny split. GMCR is going basically no place, as it's been trading below that trading range that it had for quite some time at the beginning of the year, and it does not seem to be moving any place too fast or too far. ISRG had earnings, and I think they were pretty impressed, as we see a new trading range. ISRG, a stock to watch if you are bullish. MasterCard spending its time above the 10-day moving average. Certainly a nice looking chart and we will be coming into earnings shortly, so keep your eye on earnings with the MasterCard. Basically, we're looking at around May 5th, May 6th, someplace in there where we're going to have the earnings on MasterCard. Spending all of its time above that 10-day moving average. McDonald's has earnings coming up, and we see that it has had very difficult time clearing that. It got up as high as 102. If we looked at all of last year, McDonald's only went straight up. And now since we hit that 102 area, McDonald's has been trading between 95 and basically 98, 99, and having trouble breaking through that $100 point. So McDonald's has been consolidating after its big run last year. Nike is a company that just does it, and it dropped down to the 50-day moving average, but working its way back up. Earnings were already taken care of, and looks like Nike is just keeps chugging along. Priceline came down to the 30-day moving average. We'll see if it bounces off this. One of the ways to see if you've got a bounce is to look for higher highs and higher lows, as Priceline has certainly been a good, strong stock. Earnings not in the near future, so definitely a stock that could be in play in your portfolio if you're a bit of a bull. W.W. Grainger had a big move on Friday versus the rest of the market. Already had earnings come out. Obviously, earnings were okay. We're sitting right on the 50-day moving average. Notice the closeness of the moving averages, and ready for a breakout at a W.W. Grainger. So with that, this is Butch Shorak, Options University. Monday, April 23rd, 2012. There are stocks to watch. This is going to be a big week in the market. Trade what you see, not what you think. Thank you.